Hello and welcome to Driving.ca. I'm Alex Reed, and behind me is the 2021 Lexus UX F Sport 250h Hybrid, a mouthful of a name for a buffet of a vehicle. The Lexus UX has a little something for everybody. Because it's a Lexus, you can imagine that it's got luxury in the bag, but a buffet is more than crab legs and quiche, and so is the Lexus. Since this is the F Sport Series 2 model, you get a whole host of performance upgrades, mostly a little bit stiffer suspension. That's like putting a piece of cake on top of your roast beef. But the UX doesn't stop at F Sport. This is the hybrid model, which is like the sensible side of broccoli to your otherwise hedonistic plate. And the hybrid is a rarity in this segment. These days it's hard to tell what a crossover is really crossing over, and it seems like the Lexus UX is trying to cross over just about everything. It's an SUV, it's a hatchback, it's a sports car, it's a hypermiler, but the only thing it's missing is a pickup truck. The Lexus UX really rides the line between subcompact crossover and hatchback, but when you add in the luxury that the Lexus offers, this is the luxury hot hatch that you didn't even know existed. I parked it next to an older Hyundai Elantra, and it was almost exactly the same size, which shows that this really is just a hatchback on stilts. Inside the Lexus, you are presented with accessories to the brim. A suite of safety features is also included, as are driver assistance systems. 8-way power adjustable heated and vented front seats, heated steering wheel, heads-up display, dual zone climate control, and a handsome two-tone interior are just the appetizer, while the real meat is in the quality of the construction. The switches on the dash for the climate control, for example, they just have a unique look, and they remind me of something you'd find on an airplane. Because it's a hybrid, the first thing you feel when you put your foot on the accelerator is the torque of the electric motor, and that wafts you away from a stop and effectively eliminates the rubber banding effect from the CVT transmission. Being a luxury car, I do find that nobody lets you merge, but that's not really a problem exclusive to the Lexus. But when you add the hybrid, the sport, and the luxury car together, it's basically merging poison. The turn signals sound like the ticking of a grandfather clock, which is just one of the quality things that you find in a Lexus, and one of the reasons that you buy a Lexus. It also goes with the analog clock in the dash. They didn't really need to put an analog clock because you've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay right next to it, which shows you the digital time, but it's really a nice touch. Lexus doesn't really tell people how fast their cars go, but the UX F Sport goes from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 8 seconds, and that's not too bad when you consider that the top of the range Golf GTI right now is doing it in 6.3, and that's really the benchmark. And this is a luxury car. It's not the highest performing hot hatch out there, but you mix the luxury and the sport, and it's not too bad. The 2-liter 4-cylinder produces 181 horsepower. 13 of those are coming from the electric motor mounted in the rear, which also provides the all-wheel drive. What seems on the surface as a luxury feature becomes a performance addition. Ride quality of the UX is really nice, although if you're calling it a sports car, it's probably going to be too soft. If you're going to call it a luxury car, it's going to be too stiff. So that's another example of Lexus riding the line in between the two segments. Once again, on the sport front, the steering feels really nice. It's nice and weighty at higher speeds, whereas when you're just tootling around in the city or you're trying to find a parking spot, it powers it up, so to say. So you've actually got more power assist at slower speeds, which is nice. It makes it really easy to park, it makes it really easy to turn in the city. The engine doesn't really make a fabulous noise if you're going to be calling this sporty, but once again, that's just Lexus not letting the gravy touch the peas. Above all, a Lexus has to be comfortable and quiet, and this does that very well. I noticed that as soon as I sat in this car and closed the door, it was much quieter than the outside. I had no idea that the outside was so loud, but once you close the door of the Lexus, you realize, oh yeah, this is what quiet is like. It's not a plug-in, so unfortunately you don't get to drive it all electric, but the computers in the Lexus basically decide that for you and decide the best combination of internal combustion or electric power to give you the best fuel mileage possible. And of Speaking of that fuel mileage, you're going to get 5.7 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 6.3 on the highway. Yes, you're going to get better mileage in the city, and that's because the engine relies on the electric motor more than the internal combustion engine, so you're not even turning on that internal combustion engine for most of it. So what can be improved on the Lexus? Well, when's the last time you saw a CD player and an aux cord in a vehicle? It's nice that Lexus still offers that for your poor friends who don't have Spotify and still have to walk around with their iPod, but I really don't know if we have to have iPods and aux cords and CD players in vehicles anymore. Especially not with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Bluetooth and all sorts of stuff like that. The rear seat is not big enough for something in this segment. I should be able to fit comfortably, and my legs are just crumpled up. I'm not that tall. I'm about 5'9" or 5'10", and it's way too small in the back. And the cargo room is also way too small to actually fit in anything. They've got this dual storage setup that they're doing, but unfortunately, I don't think it really helps. It's really a lot shallower than everything else in the segment, and that's kind of unacceptable. Okay, and now the biggie, the infotainment. The infotainment is okay, I will say. The actual speed and how everything works is okay, but the interface in which the driver has to interact with the infotainment is crap. This stupid Lexus touchpad thing, like a laptop from 1987, it's just garbage. Luckily, we got a little bit of a preview of the new Lexus models with new infotainment, so this will all be going away soon, and we'll be able to actually have a usable infotainment instead of this disgusting 1980s laptop technology. On top of that, the route guidance actually took me down some really goofy routes, and I pretty much got lost everywhere I was gonna go, and it even took me down a few streets that were one-way only. Yes, the outside doesn't look that great. Lexus is sticking with that spindle grille for the time being, but I do have to give them props for the color, because they didn't paint this car in any kind of white or gray or something boring like that. Luckily, we get something vibrant, something orange, a wild color, which is kind of thinking outside the box, or maybe not in Lexus's box, but I like it a lot. So much like the buffet, you've got to pay to get a seat, and the Lexus UX F Sport 250h is a black tie event. It's gonna set you back $51,270.70 when you add in all the cocktails. That's a lot of money for not a lot of space, but a lot of luxury and a lot of performance. So just like the buffet, the Lexus UX F Sport has plenty to offer. And if you've got deep enough pockets and a little bit of extra for some cupcakes or something, then the Lexus UX has plenty to offer. I'm Alex Reed for Driving.ca. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.